It's been said before, and I'll say it again. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So where would you rather be than right here and right now on the Ralph Rant? Let's go.
Welcome to the Ralph Rant, your source for hard-hitting Buffalo Bills takes. Now, here's your host of the Ralph Rant, that veteran watcher of generations of Bills teams, the prophet who predicted Josh Allen's greatness, that opinionated so-and-so you've walked out on parties because of, the Ralph.
Some things seem to change, and then some things seem to just stay the same. In pain as all of you are, I have consumed nothing this day until this one of a pair of Stellas. I want to drink to a great Bills season, bring up some points, and then talk about some questions. But you're all here together for this wake, I guess. The Bills are done on the heels of the terrible loss. Bills were clearly the better team, but just certainly not as opportunistic and certainly more sloppy. I started liking Stella, actually, when I used to tour with the Bob Seger tribute band. As a musician, I played a couple of different things in it, and the lead guitar player always liked Stella. So it's pretty good, and I do prefer it when I do have a beer, although he was an Eagles fan, so fuck him. Yeah, he was all right. Everybody wants their team to win. I just made the change, of course, to the thumbnail here behind me. The Vince Lombardi trophy with the Bills logo reflected in it now sits behind a big red X. First of all, let's address a few things here. The throw to Brandon Cooks that was called an interception. My goodness, just a game of absolute millimeters. First of all, on the call, I agree with the call, quite frankly. The ball comes in. He goes down with the ball, but clearly really doesn't have possession of it. Or you could argue he did have possession and he would have been down at that point. But if the ball came out so quickly, could he then be accused of not even having completed the catch? But to me, it looked like the ball wasn't actually ever possessed, and it was wrestled away by the Denver defender and called the interception, which was the ball game, essentially, that play. They connect their first down, they're kicking a field goal, and they're winning. We're so close to that, and that's kind of what makes it so difficult with, the kind of the questions you need to ask. But firstly, I mean, on that, I don't believe that was a catch. I could see where you could call it a catch if maybe you talked yourself into the fact that he possessed the ball with his back down. And I don't know. But it did seem like the NFL once again jumped in at the end of this game with a couple of interference calls. There was, what about the non-DPI call? I don't remember the exact play, but I know there was an egregious interference on a Bills receiver that wasn't called. And then Josh a little bit off in this game in a couple of spots with accuracy. If that ball's up a little bit more to Shakir down near the goal line, they score. So it's difficult, man. It's really difficult. And thanks for being here and hanging out, because we're all trying to process it. Or some of you may be Denver fans. If you're here kind of trolling, we'll be selective on the comments tonight, but certainly were hurting, but congratulations to the Broncos. And the Broncos kind of did it again in terms of winning these kind of games late. The question we're going to have to ask ourselves about this loss, and it's actually the question posed by Brandon Bean, or sort of the statement more or less, posed by Brandon Bean, though, at the end of every season, in the end of season presser. And he'll always say to you that in the playoffs, your biggest weakness is actually exposed. And I think we saw pretty clearly what the biggest weaknesses were. I don't need to take them in order, but certainly the Bills have got to get a star receiver in somehow for Josh Allen. Josh just doesn't have the layups that he used to have, if you remember back in the days of Cole Beasley. He needs that more in order to stay in rhythm. And, you know, Brandon Cooks is great. He's experienced. He was in there. He made some catches. He also didn't make some catches. But the other thing that the Buffalo Bills really need to do is to figure out how to get a pass rush. We need a pass rush. We need a pass rush. Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa, and I saw a lot of the same thing today. They're going upfield past Bo Nix, who would leak out at times into the flat, trot for a first down. Couple of good chances, interceptions that the Bills didn't get, but mostly, of course, it's the 4 turnovers. And Josh Allen, you know, the deep interception, which my whole problem with that one, recalling that the interception deep, was the fact that the receiver really needs to bend that route out some. He needs to give Josh a point to throw to, but he never bends the route. He never flattens at the end to give Josh something to see. And so the defender's right in line with it. But then the ball is late, too. The ball is late, or that defender doesn't get over from the backside of the play to intercept it. And then, of course, Josh with the kind of silly scramble, fumble. I don't know what he was trying to do with that ball. And then there was the sack fumble where he got plastered by the pass rush. Bills defense was put in some tough spots today. You cannot really fault the defense tremendously for this loss. If you have to point at something in terms of on field, Josh Allen is kind of part of the answer. And he may have been more banged up than we know going into this game. But there'll be questions that come up. Now, one of the sentiments I'm sure many of you remember from the days of the drought was that even when the Bills were not in the playoff, then there is the ability to have emotional detachment from the playoffs and be able to enjoy them for football's sake. And I'll go and do that tonight. It's the Bills had self-inflicted wounds tonight. And it's really tough to go through. I mean, yes, you could talk about the refs if you want at the end. And I'm gonna look at some of your comments. They need to get out here. But seriously, you've got to get serious wide receiving threats on the outside. You need to get Max Hairston healthy. And you need to figure out the pass rush. I don't know how you do it. I mean, go get Max Crosby. Go do something. You have to. I mean, these guys did not. I mean, there may have been one thing called a sack of Bo Nix, but he was scrambling and just got stopped short of the line of scrimmage. They did not get back. They hit him one or two times, I believe. I don't know if you can hear the dog in the background. Sorry about that. So let's go take a look at a few of the comments here. Bro, I'm never watching football again. Cooks hits the ground with the ball and they give it to the Broncos. That don't make sense. What a scam. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. They're I don't know, tough call. Tough call. And the fact that they weren't even gonna like look at it more. Woke's joke. I love your coverage, Steve. I hate to throw shade, but calling for a Bills blowout was a little rich. Some podcast has to do that. Never going to overcome 5 turnovers. Horrible. Up the irons here with us. True enough. True enough. Tony Morg, there's always next year. One of these years will be our year. Yeah, I can hear that. They need to somehow fix the pass rush and get the wide receiver thing taken care of. The secondary is great. McDermott can coach. You got a lot of great returning guys back there, but you need to get the pass rush. The Broncos cheated, paid off the refs. Hey, man. How would I know? I'm gutted. Badass. I'm with you too, man. With you too. Thanks for hanging out because it's like, it's kind of therapy to bitch about it. I want to get your comments up here. Bills played their game, but refs did too. The final turnover was crap. It was BS. But we hit our reset next year. Josh will be a year slower too. You know, you can say that and then go watch the new Netflix film out there called Elway, which I watched actually yesterday. And he went through exactly this. He actually lost 3 Super Bowls or something before he went and actually won one. Josh is going to be fine. Now I know we won't win a Super Bowl before I die. Well, I mean, we could talk about refs, we could talk about everything else, but man, the four turnovers. But back to the comment we had earlier, and it was about Cooks. I was thinking though James Cook, because that first fumble by Cook is what threw a wrench into the math. That was a 14-point swing in the game. And the Bills were playing at a tough stadium, admittedly. Denver's opportunistic, but the Bills, that was just essentially unforced errors. The fumble by Cook, which really got it started, and then Josh throws an interception, then loses the ball twice again, and all these questions will come out. And one of them is I'm wondering what the disposition on the Bills' defense and offense will be as far as coordinator goes. Will they think about something different? I think McDermott has essentially coordinated the defense and still had a special touch on the secondary. I don't know what Bobby Babich actually does. They're kind to him, and he's referred to, and he does a presser after every ball game. But he's not on the sideline. I've maintained that position for a long time this season about both the Bills coordinators, which is very rare. It might be the only team really in the NFL that has both coordinators up in the booth. Now, more offensive coordinators are up there. It's a better view of the field, and perhaps you could analyze from that standpoint. But a lot of D coordinators are down on the field feeling the pulse of the defense. But it's hard to fault the Bills' defense today, though. Giving up the points they did away, they had some huge stops where they held Denver to field goals after the offense had given them the ball. That is, the Bills' offense had turned over the ball to Denver. But still, there needs to be a pass rush. There was a pass rush on Josh Allen. Allen was far more pressured in this game than Bo Nix ever was. That needs to be fixed. Now, Bean tried to fix it with a big defensive draft coming in, and they brought in Brian McNeil. Some good defensive talent that'll be back next year. You'll have a lot less of the cap. Most of the cap hit, I think, will be gone on Diggs. So I'm not really particularly distressed over the future. But it's just disturbing the number of turnovers they ended up with. But, how difficult is it to go on the road? Really, how much impact did having really a short week from Sunday to Saturday against a team that had rested 2 weeks? It's hard to say. You can blame a lot of things. But truthfully, the first thing that all of these guys are saying in their press conferences that have probably concluded by now is you cannot turn the ball over 4 times in a hostile stadium and expect to win. And the hell of it is they almost did win. And had they, going up against either of these two teams next week, would have been more of the same or they would have crumbled. These games were both hellish, both versus the Jaguars and getting the win, and then this one with just having, our hearts ripped out and thrown on the field, flopping around in ventricular fibrillation. Where were we here? Badass was gutted. Few and Dumber Bills played their game, but the rest did too. We got that one. It was BSC. I got to keep my cursor on the right ones here. Josh will be slower. Did that. No Super Bowl blind. I'm really behind. We may. The cigarette smoking man from the X-Files lingers on. Yeah. Cancer man, the motherfucker. That's what they used to call him. We need to restart. Norm, the Bills fan, is with us. Bills, great year. We need to get wide receivers and defensive line improvement. Exactly. And the other thing to add to that wish list is you need a brand new, fresh version of a Shaq Thompson. You need a thumping linebacker. Bills get run on by some bigger backs, and early on the Bills weren't wrapping up. Milano had one tackle he did not wrap up on. It's good hits, but just not not getting home. Let's get some more of your comments here if I can get this. There we go. Congratulations, NFL, you won. Jape77, yep. I'll listen to that. What else is new? Up the Irons is with us. Indeed. Dennis, the Cook's call was a microcosm of the game. We gave it to them. Yeah, well put. Suddenly in Buffalo, it's hockey season. Go Sabres. The shiny scores! Oof. The true NFL. Screw us over. That was Tony Morgan again. Beth Plant is with us. Can't believe they took Cook's catch and gave it to Denver when they did the opposite last week. I knew something was up when Peyton was talking to the refs before OT. Kansas City Broncos with the refs in their back pockets. That was not an interception, and those pass interference calls were bullshit. Yeah. Bills won, period. What is a catch? Varies from game to game, it seems. It's a moving target. Thanks, Fume Drummer. The sports predictor is here. Just put the Broncos and Bears in the Super Bowl and call it the damn Lucky Bitch Bowl. NFL has become predictable. I'm not sure why we were fucked over. Yeah. Game plan. Pick on the old man, White especially versus Younger going deep. Well, that's where we need Max Hairston. And, you know, I hope he's not brittle. That's all I'll say. And pick on Jackson coming in. Miller Land is here. It was a catch. I hate seeing teams win off flags no matter which side I'm on. Exactly. The refs seem to step into this one at the end. Jeff is with us. Josh Allen fumble with 20 seconds left in the first half was another game of playing stupid. Stupid. 8-year veteran and 8 years never growing up. I cannot expend energy arguing with that. 2 hands of the ball. He hits the ground with position, down, and contact. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, man. But I'm just saying I don't think there's maintaining he had possession of it down there, which that's pretty tough. That's the ball game there. It had to be something, didn't there? After last year's 32-29 debacle, losing to the Chiefs, when Dalton Kincaid got first down on the first throw, clearly, and then Josh Allen gets it in the sneak in the next play, and they call them both fourth. So here we go. Here we go. Pardon me, I'm a little hoarse from after that. We can't leave it up to the refs. Simple as that. Allen, just as much he was good, he was bad. Underthrows potential 2 touchdowns. Ended up on INT, missed hit Kincaid for a touchdown, end of regulation. Running at half fumble. All true. All true. Two horrible calls at the end. Fix was in. Yeah, you know. That Cook INT was a little underthrown again. It was. And so was the toss to Khalil Shakir that he apparently scored on, but he had scooped the ball off the ground. Good refs favored Broncos and won versus NFI refs hated Bills. Boo. Chair Goodell. They sided with the receiver last week. I totally disagree with you. Well, you know, that I accept that. I accept that. I'm probably just like living in that world with some anger management techniques that hopefully I may have. If I had picked the Broncos this week, that INT would have never happened. I'm probably just upset, but I don't know, man. The sports predictor, yep. How about the helmet to Knox face that wasn't called? Yeah, there's another one. Can't make those ticky-tack calls on pass interference at the end. They hadn't been calling shit the entire playoffs just about, and then they get happy at the end of the game. 5 turnovers, boys. We cannot win a game with that stat. Refs helped out some for sure, but Jimmy Key, you're right. The turnovers are at the stinky bottom of this greasy, smelly pile of, sure, I'd like to have another sip of my beer. Donald Ohino is with us. What happened to letting them play in the playoffs? These 2 interference calls were ticky-tack to me. Yeah, I believe it. Well, I thought that was probably interference on Trey at the end. He did get there early, but they weren't calling shit earlier. And it's just a bad deal. It's a bad deal. For sure, the TOs was the killer. First play of the game is a microcosm of the season. Injured linebacker, and Ed only played in a couple of drives. That's true. Pez is with us. They need to go after Justin Jefferson. Yep, I would agree with that. Wow, no words. The Neek74 is with us. Well, thank you for your words and for being here. And indeed, if you are new to the channel, and of course, in a loss, we all try to gather and ease the pain, but go ahead and hit subscribe. Lots of cool content coming up over the offseason. We'll get into the draft. We'll probably going to be talking about the NFL going forward here, where I can rant without emotional attachment and really get into a rhythm. I'm glad Trey got pissed off at the refs. Somebody had to. Yeah, thank you, Beth. The Bills did more to lose this game than the Broncos did to win it. I will agree with that, Woody. Thanks for being here. Cauldron of Stardust, 4 turnovers? Oof. Wow. Wow. The Bills needed to pick one off and score today. Could have been a big man interception if Deion Walker could have rambled with that. Jimmy Key, if you're not first, you're last. Josh will go down as one of the greats that ever wins a championship. There are many. Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, to name a couple. They will, but I liken Josh more to the track of John Elway, because Elway won his later and he lost some first. Now, Josh hasn't been to one, but he's been knocking on the door of getting there. I still think that's coming. I'm not really worried much about the Bills' window. They're in a better shape in a lot of regards going into this offseason than they were the last. But that's not the time to talk about that now. Yeah, man, Trey was probably pissed as the other call when it was a blatant pass interference. Yeah, exactly. I got to say, Joe Brady called a good game. Yeah, they did. I mean, Josh, they had some critical misthrows there. The one at Khalil Shakir's feet, ouch. The first PI call, right. Tehran did not. On the pass interference. Josh doesn't need a receiver as much as an account number for these crooked refs. Yeah, but with you've got to remove the turnovers from it. You can't go on the road in a divisional playoff game and have 4 turnovers. And the refs are not causing those turnovers. It should have never been in the position to have the refs involved. Should have never gotten to that. Thank you, Cauldron of Stardust. What a great name. Overcoming the weird naming conventions that YouTube has taken up with some of the handles. But Bosa did rough the passer on that play anyway. Well, all right. I'll give you that. That was a catch for Cooks. Yeah. Courtney Mafia, welcome in, man. Welcome in. Go ahead and subscribe to the show, guys. There'll be more bitching about this coming up. And even later here, we get through some more comments and talk about really what questions might need to be asked, if any. How about the non-PI call in the end zone? Yeah, exactly. exactly. That should have been, bitching about wide receivers is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard. Yes, that's what he said. Thank you, Woody. Thank you for chiming in. You're right about that. In OT, I hated all those first down runs. Same play. You have to break the trend. Yeah, what was that? Should have getting like 1 or 2 yards. I mean, it's go time. I actually Googled during the game when Maxwell wasn't playing. Why did Bean think it was a good idea to bring back Dane Jackson? Dude's a bum. Well, because he got rid of Jamarcus Ingram when he went after Darius Slay, who didn't want to even, go in that part of the state of New York, let alone get close to Orchard Park. Donald Ohina, the play calling got really conservative on that drive. We ended up settling for the field goal in the red zone, going up 4 points. A TD and the 2-point conversion puts us up 9 points, and we were screaming for the TD there. That did not happen. A Cook's catch till the day I die. Well, what else would be new if we weren't like sitting here talking about how the Bills got sodomized by calls made by the refs during the game? That gets old. That does get old. Pass rush again, not stopping 3rd and long. That 1 3rd and 11 is all on the coaches. Well, it's something. They just don't have either the speed. They're not getting back there. There needs to be, a look at film, especially by the experts that are looking at this, but they're just not getting pressure. Any degree of pressure. But again, we're talking about things trying to tweak up the defense. And yes, there needs to be more pressure, but it's a far less issue than the 4 turnovers. Trade Josh to Giants and rebuild. Nicholas. Thank you for being in the house here. The sports predictor. The Bears and the Broncos are the dumb luck teams of the NFC and AFC, winning games with luck, not skill. Bears more than Broncos, but still. You can't win a game with 5 turnovers, especially on the road. It cannot be done. Cauldron of Stardust. Veto. Never mind the TOs. Bills had the lead late. D again couldn't hold, both late and in OT. Well, they held at the beginning of OT and gave the Bills the ball, and Bills had to punt. After the bad, of course, Brandon Cook's call. The Cook fumble was obviously the turning point. Stephen Buick, I agree with that completely. That was the wrench that got thrown into the works that started off the stuff, and just inexcusable, because they were going down there and would have made it 14-3. Josh obviously wanted that last pass to Knox back. Well, you only get to have it once. Bitching about it sadly helps. It's better than throwing a tantrum and punching a TV. That's the alternative. It is. It's therapy. It's ranting. It's having the collective thing over it. It's unfortunate. Bills probably really could have used Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers today. Boy, could they have used Ty Johnson. And go ahead and say it. Ty Johnson was on the field trying to get incentives versus the Jets when he hurt his ankle. Wow. It's all about how bad you want it. If only 1 foot lower. There you go. Huge momentum swing in the Cook fumble, looking at 14-3. Yep, exactly. Absolutely. Cook fumble from a Bronco perspective gave them the mo and the confidence, indeed. At least the Sabres have a chance. Midnight Hood strikes back. I expected them to lose. It's time for McDermott to be gone. He had too many chances, and his defense can't get key stops in the playoffs. Well, we're gonna bring up that question here in a little bit. Yeah, it did. That play killed our momentum. Yes. That wasn't a fumble by Cook. It was a forced fumble. That was a hit. Well, whatever. You can't let the ball get out of your possession. That's a lot, Steven. Yeah, 1 foot lower for Knox and 1 foot higher for Shakir, and the precision was what Josh had been working on. Painful. I predicted that predicted before the game that skill players would make the difference. Too many drops and fumbles. That's right, Dennis. Babbage is just a vegetable, indeed. 3rd and 10 OT. This call was awful. 50-yard pass. Yeah. Well, the first down call. They ran on first down the first time, twice, and they got the first down the first time, but both short yardage on the first down runs. If a guy is on his back on the ground, how is he not down, and how do you take the ball away? Didn't get that one at all. And again, I think what they're going to try to say is that Brandon Cooks was down on his back with the ball, but did not possess it. And because the ball didn't hit the ground, it was still free to be intercepted. And the problem is that if you've got video evidence, but you still don't have a definition of what it is, I guess it's what keeps the NFL just a little bit ahead of us the whole time. Just get first down, 10 yards. Absolutely. Coordinators in booth don't allow players coming off field explain things happening in the game situation. That's exactly right. So what is down by contact? And I get facts hurt. Thank you for being here. Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's going to be a point to be discussed. A lot of people will be talking about it. The NFL doesn't have the Bills in the Super Bowl. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Three weeks. We blew it even after the Cooks fumble. We had our shots to put the game away before the end of regulation. 5 turnovers is crazy. They simply we choked. Paul Chandler, welcome in. Good to see you. I cannot deny that. It also sucks that I picked the Jags last week and the Bills won. Then I picked the Bills this week and they lose. Just my luck. Well, I never pick the Bills at all. I'll try to say who I think will win. BS also started when Rousseau hit Nix while he's releasing it, and they didn't even look at it. Not blaming the refs completely, but McDermott being aggressive at the end of the half cost us 3 points. Yeah. 4 times. Am I crazy? I thought it was 5. I have to control the ball going through to the ground. We're going to argue that for a long time. We can't get it at field goal range during overtime. Apparently not. I can't do this shit anymore. Refs get us every time. That was facts hurt. Mitch H. is with us. Beans, cockiness, and arrogance regarding the receivers with WGR was a joke. His continued failures at the D-line, also a joke. Yeah, you want to hear, what really sucks? Go watch Poona Ford, who is now with the Rams and doing great. Facts hurt. This is the first time in a while I blame the refs. New York Jets Super Bowl 1. That was actually Super Bowl 3. Super Bowl 1, the Bills nearly went to before it was even called the Super Bowl, but they lost pretty good to the Kansas City Chiefs, like 31-10 or something like that. And the Chiefs went to play the Lombardi Packers for the first Super Bowl. Bills, Knicks Jack Skellington is with us. I don't want to leave your name out, even if I don't know what you're responding to. I want to acknowledge that you're here and, just trying to process a little bit. It's difficult. It's certainly difficult. It was so close. Sabres lost in overtime today as well. That freaking figures. Can you imagine if Josh had an O-line? We need to give Josh more time. Dawkins sucks. Actually, the line's pretty good. I mean, they just played some really good defenses that have a great pass rush. I mean, Houston, Denver, even the Patriots to an extent. But the Bills, I mean, their number one thing on the team is not being able to rush the passer. It's not wide receiver. Wide receiver would be nice to add a dimension to the offense where you have to respect someone deep and dangerous. But you got to get a pass rush somehow. A guy or a scheme. I would have rather us not made the playoffs. We need a rebuild. I swear Ralph Wilson really pissed them people off and still mad 30 years later. Who's that? The cancer man from the X-Files who's assuring our continued pain come playoff time. Tough loss. Maybe next year. People always wonder, why do you hate Valentine's Day? Because it's right after the Super Bowl. Cook should have secured that ball, and we win. Yeah, absolutely. It's a guy you picked up off the street. So many chances. Acid Wizard. Yes, acid would be good tonight. NFL paid Josh well to throw this game. Nah, John. Never attribute to treachery that which can be explained by incompetence. Counting on Allen and Cook to get us to the dance was a huge stretch. Sometimes you got to look yourself in the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and see how ugly you really are. Yeah, we'll get to some of these questions. We're getting down on this, but I have some thoughts here. I didn't mean to pause there, but I have some thoughts. Worst playoff performance ever by Allen, without a doubt. 5 turnovers through one of those picks right to the safety on purpose. Shit's rigged. No, it's not rigged. Christ, you can't plan that stuff. Bills need to hit on some draft picks. This was one of the weaker Bills teams in recent seasons. Got to bring in some young talent. Yeah, and when you're drafting at the bottom of the first round, it's tough. I mean, they need a pass rusher. They need a terror. They need a game wrecker playing edge. I mean, and I'm sorry, the fucking injuries. If Michael Hoyt is a part of this team, and I submit Max Hairston a part of this team for the whole season, it's different. You're right, he didn't complete the catch. And we need more speed in our secondary. We should have given up that first round pick for Waddle. Nah, I'm not so sure for Waddle. I don't know. I want to see that Brandon Bean can actually make some picks. I don't know. Do you? Yeah, you could fault Bean, but I mean, you go a different direction. I mean, remember when we went a different direction way back, and it ended up being, Tom Donahoe or Buddy Nix. Firing McDermott? No, I don't see how that happens, honestly. I would replace both coordinators. I would bring in another D coordinator that can maybe be a presence on the sideline. I mean, McDermott, that might be his call that doesn't happen, that there's not a defensive coordinator on the sideline. But the one thing, and I've mentioned this in a lot of shows, you never see coordinators getting in people's faces on the sideline, even into Josh Allen's face on the sideline, because there's no coordinator down there. The coaches that do come up and talk to him are not, maybe it's the quarterback's coach, who knows, but you're approaching Josh. I think there's that thing, you're approaching Josh and you can't get in his face. Or if you got a defensive line that needs to up the pass rush, I mean, we've seen, Vrabel as a head coach yelling at some players. We never see that from Sean, ever. It just doesn't happen. And we could say it's fine and dandy as long as they keep on winning games. But again, you keep on having to circle back in this therapy to the 4 turnovers. That is the biggest difference in the game. We'll continue here. Bring Belichick to Buffalo. You're not the first place I've heard that. Barbingo, thanks for being here. It's interesting. I don't think it would really probably work because you don't almost, I don't mind Sean McDermott as a defensive coordinator unless you get Jim Schwartz. That was personal. Sean Payton was pissed from last year. Probably so. Thank you for the Ralph rant, brother. It's been fun this season. Jimmy Jam, thank you, sir. It'll continue to be. I'm going to come up with some new and cool things to do. It's my first real off season with it. We got started back in like April, just before the draft. And of course, this forces me to look at some other cool things in football that I've never given the time to before. I will be very interested in this draft and interested in ideas of how the Bills can attack this offseason, being as close as they are, and what I believe some of the things that need to happen. Everyone plays it the same way. I would think they caught on by now. I would think they would have caught on by now. Go back to the old days. Wide receiver and DB fought each other all the way downfield. That was real tackle football. Thank you. Ed Hurt again. Probably his knee couldn't really take the game action. A.J. Brown, I don't know, man. Is A.J. Brown's behavior with the Eagles a product of him or a product of how Nick Sirianni coaches that team? Could rage on that for a while. It's an interesting question. And we have a neck injury, Ivan to me. Thank you. Of course, that would be Dorian Williams. It was the right call. Call trade, did PI. Yeah, he at the end there, he was there early, for sure. It just wasn't called earlier, especially in the end zone where the Bills would have drawn the penalty. Bills were winning 27-23 in the fourth with 4 minutes left. Our defense didn't come through regardless of the turnovers. Yeah, that was the opportunity. That was the opportunity. They needed to get a turnover or something and just did not manage it. And again, secondary was a little tougher. Who knows what it would have been with a healthy Jordan Poyer and alongside Cole Bishop. But on the other hand, I'll keep on circling back to the fact that the pass rush just needed to be there, and it wasn't. There were escape routes. I mean, you need somebody like what Von Miller used to be, or what Abdul Carter is, or, you know, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, for that matter, both from the the Texans. And I'm sorry, CJ Stroud is not a Super Bowl quarterback. I don't know. This is coming back in waves now. It's going to be a tough evening. Dodgers get Freeman, Ohtani, Yakamoto. Now Kyle Tucker. Bills don't get one good one. Yep. We'll have to work 30 minutes early because everyone was rooting against the Bills when we were down 13. I can't be in the same room with people rooting against my Bills. I've got that, and I thought they would come back. I'm very shocked they didn't win. A.J. Brown to the Bills. That's Acid Wizard. Barbigo. Joe Brady is going to Philadelphia next season. We're screwed. Because Joe Brady is going away? Perhaps. They didn't call PI in Denver in the end zone when Cooks was held. Clearly slowed him down. Yes. Thank you, Paul Chandler. Double standard. 100% what I said. Too many runs in OT. That was the sports predictor. Earl Bow is here. When the Bills lose, it's everyone's fault but Allen's. When they win, it's because he's Superman. He had no big names in the playoffs this year, and he still choked. Yeah, I can't further hammer my voice by arguing with that. Bad calls, bad throws, turnovers, oh my. I've already stated, if you weren't here earlier, that yes, Josh Allen was certainly at the core of the Bills' loss today. And, I don't know if you can blame the coordinator for that with those turnovers. We didn't get that one. Beth Plant, if the NFL wants Denver to win so bad, that means New England won't be in the Super Bowl. Thank God. No, whoever gets there will probably just get by Houston after whoever's playing Houston has their quarterback's legs broken by Houston's pass rush, therefore sending a second-string quarterback to the Super Bowl and letting Ben Johnson and his new F the Packers shirts be what's cool in the NFL. Bills lost, period. True. Fucking Josh skipping passes. What the hell was going on today? Thank you. Bro, checking YouTube right now. Allen's bawling in the press conference. Oh my God, so sad. Today was all about the fumbles, and we still had a chance to win. That's the sad part. We should have won. Nara is with us. Nara Q89. Thank you very much for being here. Vito, why not have Shakir and the two Cooks play DB? Like Hunter, doesn't have to be every play, but in those third and longs. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to drink by myself. Good night, everyone. Acid Wizard. Yes, make it tasty and strong. I cannot see my quarterback like that. Oh no, I've not seen this. Obviously, I go right on. I need a true number one wide receiver plus more defense. TJ Watt, I'm a Steelers fan. Look like there would be a big changes here. Just wondering. Well, the Bills suffered through a 17-year playoff drought. And now the Bills are suffering through a 7-year playoff drought, so to speak. So at some point, you'd like to see something different happen. Craig Werlow is with us on that comment. Thanks very much for being here. They got 30 friggin' points. They did not play bad at all. The turnovers were bad. At least we were able to watch the Bills longer in the year than most other teams these last 6 years. That is for sure. They've played almost an extra season now of playoff games in the Josh Allen era. Anyway, I feel better now. I'm going to go chill and hope Seattle wins to avoid an 0-2 start like back in the 2021 playoffs after I started 5-1 in the wild card. Yeah, I can watch the rest of this without emotion. Who are we going to hire if we fire McDermott? I don't know. The best suggestion I've had, which people probably won't like that much, is actually John Gruden. If you were going to do that. Sorry, Josh lost the game with 4 turnovers and missed passes in critical spots. No pass rush, 5 turnovers. You're not winning in the postseason when you don't protect the ball. Sorry, that first one I didn't mean to get by you that fast. Sanjay Christopher, thanks for being here. Raider Dave 12, thank you. Nick's had a clean uni. He had no pressure on him all day. Absolutely correct, sir. Anyways, I feel better. Thanks, Ralph. Going to go chill and hope Seattle wins. Continuing here, Josh really had as many turnovers in this game than he had his whole postseason career. He's taking it hard. We lived by Josh. We died by Josh. Indeed. Mitch H. Small play that will be lost in the missed throw catch to Hardman right before the Cook's simultaneous catch was a wide open conversion, but I don't know who's worse, Bean or McD. Josh needs fucking help. Need to clean house. GM coaches. By the way, that was UAV Doug. Sorry if I'm missing your handles here. A lot of new names here. Bluesbender is here. Hardman drop followed by a Cook's catch. That tie should have went re-offense. No penalties were called until the drive, and the first one was not PI. We recovered a fumble, and Ogunjobi jumps. The NFL playoff matchups. McD will say we will learn from this. Josh says it now too. He's been converted, right? McDermott could not stop a 2-minute drive where Denver had to score a touchdown and he couldn't move his defense to rise to the occasion. True enough. Bye-bye, Bills. Oh, from Candace. Oh, where are you guys? Oh, we can't see. Oh, that's right. We know what happened. Playoffs are structured so slanted it makes it impossible for low seed and easy as hell for the number 1 seeds. They get a bye home field and match up with the lowest seed and worst team. Well, of course, it used to be 2 teams getting the bye. And when they had it just as 6, and then there was just 2 wild card games per side. Best tush push in the NFL and love the hook and ladder. Yep. Shakir would have been tackled right away if he caught that. The defender gave, that's a good point, Bluesbender. I know what you're saying on that catch because he saw it was on the ground. So, yeah, the point accepted on that. At the end of the day, the amount of turnovers put it in the ref's hands, but hurts almost not more than 13 seconds with the ref's BS. Well, pick your poison, right? Thanks, Mitch. Bluesbender up because he knew it was not a catch, right? Look at Seattle's nasty defensive line. Gut this coaching staff and bring in John Gruden. It's not easy to win. Just yell at the players on the sideline. They're supposed to be the best, pros. They should know how to play the game with enthusiasm. Now, there's more to it than that, or we wouldn't have such a thing as coaches. Tyreek Hill. Hey. Sabres going to win the cup. Talk that up. Bean and McDermott, who do you think is more at fault for not giving Josh more help? Bean's roster, lack of receivers, run D, and pass rush, or McDermott? I used to think the Bean was solid, but not sure now. Well, I've talked about this in the past and actually thought that when the Bills took Keon Coleman and Josh wanted Keon Coleman and they kind of traded their first round pick, but that I think Beam was on the hot seat for first round picks, i.e., Kyer Elam from back then. But then I think he kind of wanted them, and that's why I think he did not want to give up a first round pick for Waddle because and who knows who he'll pick and who will be in position for. Regrettably, it's not a huge year for quarterbacks coming out. So we don't know how many of those are going to be picked. That usually helps when you're a team like the Bills that doesn't need one. McDermott is at fault. Bo Nix broke his legs. Surgery on Tuesday. Here, Bo Nix had a broken bone. Out next week, out for a year. Josh Allen's overreacted as always. I'll have to look at that. That seems like weird news. I live by the quote from McD. Josh is forced to work hard. Did the Bean do enough to support an MVP? Nope. The end with these boneheads. Not leg, ankle. My goodness. So who you got winning it all? Seattle. Nick's broken ankle out for rest of the year. My goodness. Are you guys for real about Nick's? Nick's out. Jarrett Stidham in. Disinfo. That's a great handle to be giving this news with. News with. Being built this team and roster to be like 4 deep everywhere. I mean, screw that noise. That's the error. What did the depth do? Well, the depth beat the Jets 35-8. Thanks. Dane in one play, burned. Savage one play, burned. Going out and try to get Darius Slay just so he could screw the Bills over because they ended up getting rid of Jamarcus Ingram, rather. Put him on the practice squad where he got scooped up by the Texans. Then Darius Slay doesn't show up. You're out Jamarcus Ingram. So now you're playing Max Hairston versus the Jets in the fourth fucking quarter. Who's going to the airport to see the Bills homecoming tonight? Seattle is hot. You called it, Ralph. Bills won. Oh, wait. Thank you for reminding me. Jets are semi-PTO, semi-pro. I always like Ingram. Better than Dane Jackson, and thankfully we've got to the bottom of the comments. We're going to have to ask the questions. Do any heads roll from this? Do you start to look at Josh Allen, the quarterback, is getting far in the playoffs and being stopped by what? Well, it was him today, for certain. So these are tough questions. There's no easy answer to it, no easy fix. But the more years this goes on, the more Dan Marino-ish it sounds. And boy, I just hope that isn't how it turns out. Well, we've had the pain here going for over an hour here now. Got 126 viewers over on X. If you're there, just go ahead and hit the follow button. I'll get this information out to you as we go along. More vids coming out. Looking at this off season, I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying to keep a head up. It's going to be tough. Very painful. We all just wanted it so very, very much. And it's a fan base that has just been starved for it and teased with it for so long. But somebody's got to figure it out, and there's questions to answer, and I'm sure they'll be asked over the coming days. So now we could just remove ourselves from the emotional situation here with football and just look at other teams and decide who we want to hate and who we want to see lose. A couple more comments here. Josh Allen playing in the Pro Bowl. I don't think they do that, right? Cook catches that ball, we win. Jay crying, not all his fault. 30 points on our offense. Marino made it to one Super Bowl. Yeah, thank you very much. I think Babbage is gone, but honestly, who really cares? It's still McDermott's defense and game management. Thanks for the therapy session after this shit. You're welcome, Mitch. Big turnover. Headquarters. Big turnover in head coaches in the NFL. McD had his chance. It's time. Well, if one thing has been proven, things can change quickly. And maybe it's not a coincidence that Bill Belichick's initials are the same as that of the Buffalo Bills. Get a couple more weapons for Josh and try again next year. Bomber Jack is here. I missed your comment there. Brandon Bean let the team down. Another skip. Josh Allen lost this game. Yes, he did. And I'm just out of material. The heartache will set in different stages. You guys all know this drill. It's an exacerbated version of how you feel after any loss. And it's once again having to reset for an offseason because the Bills aren't going to get onto the field where the Super Bowl is played and where the Vince Lombardi trophy will be won. We'll have to see. There has to be some hard conversations. But thank you guys for hanging out. Again, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and follow me on X. Hit subscribe on YouTube. I'm going to need to bitch some more about this as I develop some thoughts over the next couple of days. So I'll be back with something probably recorded and then certainly get back for something else and then see what kind of hate we can drum up either for the Texans or the Patriots. And then go look at this news that we just heard about Bo Nix. That's amazing. We had a few more comments here. Thanks so much, guys. Again, I'm going to get out of here now. So, for the season anyway, signing off here. Be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills. I am the Ralph, and this is the Ralph Rant. Thanks very much.